Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hey. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not everybody. I should.
You
Sorry.
are but you're here though.
I'm outspoken, apparently. Oh, yes, I am. I am here. That is
You are
true.
here. And
Okay.
everybody else that's here is here, right?
Everything that exists exists. Yeah.
This is true.
Let's just do all the truths right now. Pizza is pizza because by
Because that's what
definition.
it's called.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Welcome everybody to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is our Wednesday show that's all about you guys. This is a show where we handle anything that you have going on. You can feel free to post it there in the chat and let us know. You can go to our website, don'tworrywednesday.com, and click the Submit a Topic button. And a little thing will slide out, and you can fill in your topic and let us know what you'd like us to talk about. Any type of issue or challenge you might be having in your lives, we'd be happy to talk about it. We're not therapists, we're not professional licensed counselors, we're not professional well, we're professional musicians.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't know
right.
what that means about the advice we have, but um,
Right.
but we really
Hit or
just want to
miss.
be your friend. I'm sorry, Ryan. What was that?
I said hit or miss.
Hit or miss?
That's, yeah, like all things.
Yes.
Yep. We just want to be your friend.
Yep, we want to help in any way we possibly can, offer some love and encouragement, maybe some friendly perspective along the way. We know you're probably smart enough to figure a lot of this stuff out on your own, but however, it just helps sometimes to have a little bit of perspective outside of ourselves. So then, it's a lot easier to navigate when somebody outside the situation looking in can maybe point to something that you might be distracted by all the emotion and all the crazy and all the weird, wild stuff. You know, it's why I have a therapist. It's why I have a priest. It's why I have an attorney. It's why I have good friends.
Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you what, man. We Ryan, you're small again already. Look at
Well,
that. Look at that
well,
amazingness.
technical
I'm gonna
difficulties.
fix
Oh
it. I'm gonna
well.
fix it. Watch this. I'm gonna fix it. Yeah. What? So I fixed it and then it fixed itself, so it made it big.
Wow. Wow.
Oh boy. All right.
So I got hey big mode.
So yeah, hey, big mode, and then yeah, but well, everybody else just saw the go small and then and then big again. I didn't get a chance to
Everybody saw
transition it.
the every individual pore on my skin and said, "Wow, he's got a lot of those."
Well, they didn't see that. They didn't see it go big.
Oh, okay, okay.
So anyway, yeah. So welcome
Yeah. Hey,
everybody.
welcome everybody. Yeah. It was like in
now you're
sync.
now you're totally copying me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it's really great to be here. It's really great to see all you guys. You guys are awesome. So much
Yes,
love.
yes, it is. Ryan is up there with me. He goes by Static P. I'm Joe. With us is the lovely Princess. How are you doing tonight, Princess?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Yes, Princess keeps our show on track and reads our topics for us and keeps everything organized. She does so much behind the scenes, you wouldn't even believe it. But anyway, yeah, what do you say we get rolling? How you doing, Ryan?
Yeah, let's kick it off. Yeah, I'm doing great. How you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
it's a great Wednesday. I'm
It is a
excited.
really great Wednesday. You know, not without problems or issues, but that
Sure.
doesn't matter. It's a great Wednesday. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Kat says let's get rock and rolling, and Soaking
Mm-hmm.
Pillow. We
And
got the whole trinamic trio.
yes, dynamic. You know, it's always a great day when we get to be with you guys and chat, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what, the good life's about. Just being with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's awesome. The Trinamic Trio. That reminds me of the band that I was in
Dynamic.
that is just getting started up again. Actually, yeah, we're putting the band back together, man. It's
We're putting the
cool.
band back together. I'm not in it, but
No,
that's just
Ryan's
to
not in it.
clarify.
It's me and a buddy of mine named Wink. He plays bass, and then Steve from a single duel, he's playing guitar, which is really cool. And it's funny. The name of the band is Headband, and we're just fun and funny and, play classic rock covers and stuff. But the slogan for Headband is only a three-piece, but they sound like a trio.
Wow. You guys are great.
Yes, since we're talking about obvious definitions and such.
Obvious definitions. Yeah.
So, yep. But anyway, so yeah, let's get moving. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to go through a list of names. If you guys hear your name, I see some of you, at least one of you here in the chat already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and go through this list. And if you hear your name, let us know, and we'll be happy to do your topic. So we have Kendra, Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meow, Anonymous, Shark Jelly, and Toby. And so let us know if you're here. We'd be happy to do your topic. Kendra, I see you're here.
Yeah. And if
What's
you have
up?
a different name on that you submitted than what your YouTube name is, make sure you let us know.
Yes.
So that
yes.
because obviously you might be like, I'm here and okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is perfect because it looks like Kendra's was a little bit time sensitive. So
Yes.
we should just
Yes.
go ahead and do that one first. What do you
Let's
think?
do it. I think that's a perfect place to start.
All right. We shall do that. So this is called Spritzer's Limited Time Left. And I will get it up on the screen here. So we can have you guys read along while Princess reads it aloud. So there it is. And Princess, whenever you're ready, go right ahead. You may be muted.
That would be accurate.
Yes.
Hey folks, it's been a while since I posted here. I have been very busy working along with a few other things. This is more of a rant of sorts, just to get this off my chest. And I'm sorry if this is all over the place. On Friday, March 18th, I took my cat Spritzer to the vet, and he hasn't been himself and lost quite a bit of weight all of a sudden. They did an ultrasound on him, and it looked like it was either an abscess or cancer. And from what they said, it was leukemia, and that he most likely has 2 months left to live. He's only 2 years old, and I don't want to lose him. But then again, he was a very sickly kitten when he was born. He could have died the same like his sibling, but he didn't. He lived, and I'm so grateful for that. It hurts my heart, and when I got home from the vet, I cried and cried and cried. We have decided that from now on he will stay inside most days, as there are lots of tomcats around and are more likely, being sick and weak, they will bully him and most likely try to kill him. Instead of being sad, I'm going to spend as much time with him as I can. On March 19th, the day that I was writing this, I'm going to live stream on Twitch and try and raise some money for a cat rescue in my town and donate money to them in Spritzer's name. Eventually, I will adopt from them when the time is right. But for now, I want to give them the things they need to be successful in finding homes for all the stray cats in my town. We are currently trying to get an outdoor cat house made for all the cats that are a bit more feral and need time to get used to people. With our cat Angel, it was still sad when she passed, but she was 17 and her health was getting worse with each passing day. It was hard to say goodbye to her, yes, but it was easier because we knew it was about time. Spritzer is different. He's only 2, and he's my baby boy. And it's hard not to cry thinking about how in 2 months he might not even be here anymore. I'm going to try and get as many cuddles as I possibly can. Since Spritzer lived outside most of his life, I have to take him outside each night to use the bathroom before bringing him in for the night. Although I'm not a morning person, I'm going to have to get up early to take him outside and use the bathroom in the morning. I may lose sleep because of this, but it will be worth it for my baby. If it isn't too much to ask, I would appreciate if you all could say a few prayers for Spritzer and I. We need all the prayers we can get. Thank you so much for reading this. God bless with love, Kendra.
Thank you, Kendra. And I'm so sorry to hear about your cat and how this is happening. That's got to be a real blow because, a pet can really become part of the family. and in a pretty quick time frame. I know a really good friend of mine. They got a dog, and um, as frustrating as it's been to have this dog, because he's had to be to the vet a bazillion times and spent a lot of money on vet bills and all kinds of stuff, they still love this dog, and he's part of the family. So I know that connection is tight, and it can be really really hard. And I applaud you, Kendra, because in the midst of all this, you're still thinking to yourself, all right, I'm going to make the best of the time that I have here. And I think that's really, really awesome and sweet of you. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and see what he has to say about this topic. So, Ryan, take it away.
Um, yeah, thank you. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I think it really just speaks to your heart, Kendra. You have such a big heart. I think that's so wonderful. That you would, dedicate your times in your mornings having to wake up and just deal with all of this stuff, you know. I think one thing that happens between us and pets is, we're put in a position where we're responsible, and
Mm-hmm.
that responsibleness. I almost said responsorial,
Responsibility?
and I was like, nope. Yeah, responsibility. That's the word. Thanks, princess. That responsibility is a form of sacrifice and investment, if you will. And naturally, that's going to make us attached, right? Um, it's one thing to be sad, like it's one thing to be sad for a cat when they are dying, but when you're the one that has basically given it food, shelter, and some training if any of that happened. Just time spent with it, holding its paw or things like that. It's a whole different thing, right? It's something far more than just an animal that you like. It becomes a relationship with something that has the ability to breathe, to move, to act against you or act with you. And it's a beautiful thing, a very beautiful thing, a precious thing. And so um, I think that this hardship is hard, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
hard. And I think that you're doing a wonderful job, um, basically dealing with this, right? Because there's so many different ways to deal with this. But the fact that you've chosen to stick with it, to continue to be a servant, if you will, to your cat, um, is again, it just speaks volumes about your heart, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So honestly, there's not much that we can say other than I think you're doing really good things. And or at least more so I can say. I can't speak for Joe, but I haven't had a pet in a long time, but I remember the pets that I did have. Um, yeah, we were close. I could huggle them and so on whenever I felt like it. And most of the times it was not out of any sadness or despair. It just looked at them and said, "Okay, I want to hug you now." You know how
Mm-hmm.
that is. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, yeah, when they pass, it's hard because, yeah, I mean, what can you do? I think one beautiful thing that I always mention when we're faced with the prospect of death is that sadness and emptiness we feel in our heart is good because it shows us it is an accurate, or at least as accurate as we can get, representation of the value. When you lose an item, it can feel bad, right? Recently, I lost a ring, right? And my thumb is ringless and it feels weird. I lost it on my trip to go visit Jesse and Tef. So, hey Tef, how's it going, man? Um, but and and it's sad, but I'm not heartbroken, right? Life goes on. When you lose something that's a creature, right? It is a whole different thing. And and that's just to show again, just a representation of value, right? No one cries over a lost ring. They might, depending on the person, They might cry over a lost ring, but usually the reason they cry over that lost ring is not because it's a ring. It's because of what the ring meant to them,
Mm,
right? It's
mm-hmm.
more likely that it's the relationship, the bond that they had with a person who gave them that ring. And that's why they are crying, right? And so to have this sadness in your heart, just remember that that's okay. And it's okay to embrace it and allow it to be there, because it's a good example of where your heart is at and where value is in this world, and that we should be spending time to care for each other and care for our environment, and care for just things that are valuable. And so I hope that it compels you on your way. I know that you've dealt with this before, and we've talked about this before, and I think you do a great job at being a wonderful, kind person. So
Mm-hmm.
and that values the life around you. So just, yeah, keep at it. I'm gonna give it over to Joe now. See if he's got anything he wants. I'm sure he has a lot he has to say, at least. Anyways, take it away.
I've got stuff I can say. Yes, I mean, you're right. I'm kind of in the same position that Ryan is, in the sense that I haven't had a pet in a long time. I've had numerous pets when I was a child. We had a few dogs. We had a cat, and they become part of the family, and they just, you're playing with them, you're hugging them, you're loving them, you're petting them, all that stuff, and they just become, they're your friend, they're your family member. You just get close, and anytime you're faced with the loss of them, it's really crazy. I remember this one particular dog. It was the last dog we ever had, growing up, and this dog was really kind of a problem, so we had to find a different home for it, and it was kind of an aggressive dog, kind of a, didn't wasn't very obedient. We didn't know anything about training dogs anyway, so we just kind of had to fly by the seat of our pants. But I remember the day that that dog left our house. Now, we didn't have to put the dog down or anything like that, but it was empty. The house felt empty. The yard outside, when we were playing, my brother and I were playing outside, and it just felt strange for us to be out there playing and not have this dog, running around with us and playing with us, and yip yapping at us and all this stuff. And
Yeah, it's quiet, right? Or
yeah, it was
there's the
weird.
lifelessness.
It was just, there's an emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
And any kind of loss is like that. We feel empty, whether it's the loss of a friend or family member or whoever, and you know it there's just a pit in our gut that's empty. But I love what Ryan was saying, that's a good sign for you to feel that way, for us to feel the sadness. That means that shows how important this person or this pet or this, how important they were to us. And it shows that we have the capacity to love. They say that, there's a saying, is love hurts. And it's true. Love does hurt. Especially, I mean, it can hurt when we love something and they're there. And it can hurt especially a lot when they're gone. And man, so what do we do then? And Kendra, you're doing absolutely what I would do, and that is to just spend as much time as I could just loving your cat, just spending time with your cat, being there and enjoying as much time as you possibly have left. And yeah, I have to say I'm really, really sorry, because it's always bad news when you get news that somebody has a certain amount of time to live. That's a sad day, because then it's like, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, at least I can prepare, right? At least I have this time where I have notice. And so I can take that extra little bit of time and that extra little bit of attention with the time I have left and spend it, as best I possibly can. And it sounds to me like you're doing that, Kendra, and I applaud you. So my heart goes out to you. I wish I could hug you and just wrap you in big hugs, big virtual hugs now. But yeah,
COVID free,
that's what's
mind you.
that?
I said COVID free, mind you.
COVID-free hugs.
COVID free hugs.
Yes.
Sorry.
Right on. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have. Ryan, did you have anything else for this topic? Or Princess, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, if Princess has anything, she
No,
doesn't.
I mean, you
Okay.
guys covered it really well. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly, the only thing I have to say is, Kendra, you have a wonderful head on your shoulders and a big heart. So just yeah, prayers are with you. And we wish you the best. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you so much for sharing this. I know it's hard. And it's okay to vent and feel that way. I think it's justified. So just keep doing what you're doing. Um, doesn't mean it's going to be pleasant, but I think it is going to be the best thing you can do. And that's what makes the best person in us, is when
Mm-hmm.
you do the best thing you can do. And that carries on, and it honestly can carry on for generations and generations. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
never see how far your impact goes, but it goes a long way. And so when you do the right things, or you do the good things for the creatures of this world, including yourself, um, that changes things. And I think that that's important. So keep at it.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
thank you
I
so
definitely
much.
want to
Oh,
applaud you as well for I want to applaud her for raising money and putting it in Spritzer's name and that sort of actions. That's a great thing to do.
Mm.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it's important to make memories and to cherish them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all.
Mm. Hmm.
Awesome. Thank you, Princess. And thank you, Kendra, for the
Yeah.
topic. And wow. So, yes, my heart goes out to you, Kendra. I wish you the best through this time. And yes, we love you.
Yes. Much love.
Yes, thank you, Kendra. All right. Well, we should move on to our next topic here. Let's see. I'm going to go back to my list of names and we will see which one we're going to do next. So let's see. I'm actually going to reload the tab. Tab reload. Make sure. Oh, there's a new one.
Oh. Oh.
All right. Yeah, we've got some weird glitches going on. I don't know what's going on with our whole setup. We were glitching before the show or glitching during the show. It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just be entertained with us. So all right,
Please be entertained by our miscomings.
are you not entertained? All right, here's the list: Ash, Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meowlido, Anonymous, Shark Jelly, and Toby. And Ash, oh, you just dabbed. Oh,
Oh man.
thank you.
Ashes appears to be time sensitive. Is that accurate?
It looks to be that way. Uh, and so yeah. And it just came in, didn't it? I think Ash, you said like 40 minutes before the show it came in.
That's right.
So yeah. So let's do that one. What do you say?
I say.
You say?
I say. I say let's do it.
All right. Well, that's the important part. So all right, I'm going to get it up here on the screen, and then Princess, whenever you're ready, you can read it aloud.
So there's these two girls at my school, Faith and Emily. I wouldn't say that I'm too close with either of them, but there's a big problem. Faith is kind of desperate for a partner, so Emily created one for her. She did it because said she was really depressed. But the persona that Emily has been using has faith in love. For a while, we thought he was real, but as time went on, the puzzle pieces just weren't fitting together. So me and my close friend decided to confront Emily, ask her for some sort of proof that the guy was real, and he wasn't. But now Faith is going to be heartbroken. I don't really like her much, but I still really don't want her to be hurt. This situation is just really messy, and I don't want to be a part of it. But I also feel like I just can't stand back and watch it. So, what exactly can I do in this situation? Should I even do anything? I'm sorry, I know this isn't really the topic, but I kind of wanted to get it off my chest and figure out some sort of solution to this. As always, thank you guys for what you do. You've helped me more than you know. Who, who needs real therapists when you guys are the best? Lol. Love you guys from Ash.
Wow.
Thanks, Ash, but also we are
Thank
not a
you, Ash.
substitute for blah 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 blah. Please don't sue us. All right.
Yes. Who needs therapists? Probably everybody. I had this conversation with my parents not too long ago. I was like, you know what? I think everybody needs a therapist, to be honest with you. But
great.
anyway, I
We love you,
really
Ash, by the way.
appreciate your kind words. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ash. And this is interesting. So, all right, so we've got an imaginary partner. I'm just gonna read the summary here. Emily made an imaginary partner for Faith, who was really depressed. We discovered that, and now Faith. We discovered that, and now Faith is going to be heartbroken. The situation is messy. I don't want to be part of it, but I just can't stand back and watch. So, wow. So I guess I would wonder. So, do both Emily and Faith realize that this person is imaginary?
It sounds like Faith doesn't know yet.
Faith doesn't know yet from
Faith
what it
doesn't know yet.
says. It sounds like that Ash and their friend found out from Emily because they were thinking that this isn't real, while Emily has made this for Faith.
Okay, so I'm guessing this would be like an online persona, maybe that is
I'm gonna have to guess so.
talking with Faith. Okay, wow. Ooh, this is tangled.
Yeah, this is messy.
This is a bit tangled. Because anytime, I mean, you know, even a lie with the best intentions is still untrue, and you still have to lie more to justify that lie, to, you know, make that lie seem true, to cover the fact that it was a lie. So the more you go, the more you live this you know, untruth, you know, the more you have to lie to continue covering it up, and it just gets hard. And so, man, I mean, I would say probably sooner than later I would bring the truth out, because the longer it goes, it's probably just going to hurt even more for Faith. And you're going to have to tread even more delicately than you're going to have to now. But man, this is tangled. And I'll tell you what, one of the best people I know to talk about something tangled and twisted, he's helped me undo a lot of my knots, is Ryan. And
well,
so I'm going to turn it over to you, Ryan, and let you
thanks,
have it.
Joe.
Yep,
You're a
you're welcome.
doll. Sorry, that's a weird phrase, isn't it?
I have a porcelain doll. Yes.
You are just the cleanest, most well scrubbed porcelain doll. You are just
perfect.
immaculately shining without even a single dust of impurity on you. Anyways, Ash has an update, and it says we decided to confront her today just because Emily sent a picture of the guy in it, and I did a reverse image search, and it came back related to some influencer. I told Faith what I found, and she was mad, but I'm not quite sure if she knows that the guy isn't real. Well, either way, wow, what a mess, right? Well, of course, I think that in this scenario, we can all go, okay, this was not the right move ever. There's no way you can enter into that scenario and back out without just a whole lot of bad emotion. Like, best case scenario, Faith gets hurt and is willing to forgive. That's it. Like, that's rough. So, man. Well, I think the best thing you can do on your end is to. I think it's good that you told her, right? I think it's important also to get Emily and all of this in her mind kind of untangled so that she can rightfully confess, right? So that she can come forward and actually apologize and hopefully not damage their friendship. Um, so one thing that you can do is talk to Emily on a one-on-one, and try to make the setting so that it's not argumentative, just peaceful. One thing I recommend is just um, whenever you have something hard to talk about to someone, start it off with a normal kind of fun discussion. Like always my example is like, "Hey, what's your favorite donut?" You know, it's just a good example. I mean, it's a great question, right? That's if you haven't asked it before, it's a good question. People have to think about that. Like, oh, oh man, there's a lot of good donuts out there. Or they're like, I don't like donuts. Well, whatever. I didn't even come to talk to you about that, anyways. Jerk. No, just kidding. But yeah, start in a peaceful conversation, non-confrontational, and then move on from there to what you want to talk about. Then what you're going to do next, the next step is to start with a disclaimer. And the disclaimer really helps because it sets the tone that you're not being offensive and that you don't care to offend her, you don't care to make her feel bad. Right? So you talk to Emily, you say, "Hey, just a disclaimer, by the way, I see what you were doing, and I think that it was out of good heart, and I appreciate that. I think that's really cool. And by no means do I mean to uh, want this to backfire, want you to get hurt. No, no way, no how. And I don't want to think you to say. I don't want to say that like everything you did was wrong. Like, because I get what you were trying to do, and I think that's great. But now we have an issue. How do you think we should best solve this? And I think then you can carry out a conversation with Emily. Um, if she doesn't want to give up ground and decide to tell Faith, then that's the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Emily can be the one to admit it and come to Faith and say, "Hey, I want to be the first to tell you that I done messed up and I trolled you and played with your feelings and I didn't ever mean for this to happen. And I'm so sorry. It was just so stupid." Right? That'd be the best case scenario because then you have the best route for them repairing their friendship. Um, yeah. The other option is she doesn't want to do that. And then you're in another bind where
Mm.
if you tell Faith, then Emily knows that you told her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's going to be mad at you. And their Faith's relationship's going to be broken. It's going to be a bad day. Even if you don't have this conversation with Emily, there's still a good chance that she'll find out you're the one that told Faith. And she's going to be mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you spoiled the whatever she was trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
In all good intention, right? So I think the best thing from my personal experiences, but I'm not saying that this is the best thing. This is what my best thought is. And that is to just try to talk to Emily on a one-on-one and game plan how to solve and untangle it with her for Faith and undo what can be done. You said she agreed with me and my friend that the best thing she should do would be to at least just have the fake guy break up with Faith, but she also doesn't want Faith to hate her. She agreed that she shouldn't have done it and did say that she felt really bad. Okay, perfect, perfect. This is already going in the right direction then.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally, it's more important that she comes out and just honest, straight honest, and have Faith mad at her and then resolve that anger
Mm-hmm.
because that's what's going to happen, right? You get into that scenario, of course, Faith is likely going to be mad. If she's not, she's a saint, but she's likely going to be mad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay to be mad at your friends sometimes when they do something wrong, as long as you work through it. And so that's going to be part of working through it. Part of reconciling this whole thing, I think, is openness.
Mm-hmm.
If you have her pretend with this guy to sort of break up and disappear, right? Technically, that's a lie, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
way out. And you're just going to break Faith's heart with that move. That's not gentle. That's just going to hurt her. And then when she finds out what really happened, that's just going to hurt her even more.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, okay, you even went to the extent where you broke up with me and made me feel that too. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend avoiding that move. I would call it as soon as possible, because I think if you can, tell Emily that, because it's not good. Also, it's not good for Emily, right? It's not good for her heart, for her soul.
Mm-hmm.
It would be not good for Emily if she got away with it, right? Emily would probably realize that. Go to the store and you steal something and then you lie your way out of it. Well, the person knows what they did. It's not good for them. It's actually better for them to get punished so that they don't ever get sort of the feeling that they can escape from their lies again, or escape from doing bad things again with a good lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good for her. I think that you could probably convey that message as well, just to help her see that the best thing you can do is just admit right away. That's what I got for now. I see you have a little bit more written. But I'm gonna give it over to Joe, see if he wants to read any of that out loud. But yeah, up to his discretion. I'm sure he's eager to talk. So go at it, Joe.
Up to
Good
my
luck.
discretion. I have discretion.
You have discretion. You are the host.
Oh
You
boy.
can turn me off at any point. You can turn this car around.
Well, with all of our glitches, the glitch might just turn you off.
Yeah,
It might
that's
not
true.
even be
That's true.
me.
You don't have full
Who
control.
knows?
Technology does what it does.
Yeah. I see what you've added here, Ash. Says, what's even more messed up, though, was that in the beginning, Emily was flirting with all the girls as the guy, almost like she was trying to get someone to fall for the persona. And that's, I mean, you know what? I enjoy
I've had
acting.
fun. I've done stuff like that.
You have?
Not exactly like that, but so I've fallen in that before.
Okay. It's pretty wild. Acting is one thing. Deceiving other people is another thing, right?
Yeah.
And so so what's going on with Emily with this deception of other people? Like, I would probably, Ash as her friend, I might kind of call her out on that, because that's not going to be, if she continues that type of behavior, like Ryan was saying, it's not going to be good for her. Emily is not going to, benefit from doing this, right? I mean, she might get a few laughs. She might, hey, look at it. Hey, I really pulled the wool over these people or something, like, hey, but it's not good for her, because really we need to be ourselves in these experiences. But like what Ryan was saying, I love what Ryan was saying, because yes, I think Faith needs to know the truth, and she needs to know the truth soon, as soon as possible, and to do it heartfelt and everything like that, and like go back and listen to what Ryan said about softening that blow, because we're in a situation now where people are going to be hurt. Okay? There are just times like that, in our lives when even we might not even mean to do something. We might not even have come up with the idea or anything like that, but sometimes people are just going to get hurt by stuff going on. And, sometimes we can see it coming a mile away, sometimes we can't, but all of a sudden something happens and people are hurt. If you can figure out a way to soften this blow, and what Ryan was talking about in his part would be very, very good, because it will help kind of ease that pain, and maybe try to help Faith understand the intention behind it as well, and surround it by bazillions of apologies. You know, I mean, now Emily should be the one to do this, right? And so really, I mean, maybe you should have Emily listen to this as well before she does this, to to soften that blow for Faith, because Faith's going to be hurt. Who knows what's going to happen? Like Ryan said, the best case scenario is she gets hurt and she forgives and she gets over it, and you can all still maintain friendships and all that kind of stuff, right? Worst case scenario is, actually, I think the worst case scenario would be is if the fake boyfriend broke up with her or ghosted her or whatever, and then just was gone, and then the truth came out later, and then, boy, you're going to have a real hard time repairing that friendship at that point. You got a lot more mileage, to go in that case. But no matter how this ends, Faith is more than likely going to be hurt by this. And so then what do you do then? You just do everything you can to minimize the damage. You do everything you can to still love Faith, because, I mean, you're talking about someone who's depressed. And this has the potential to make her more depressed. I mean, I can sit there and think to myself, I know my own self-talk when I'm depressed. And I can imagine Faith's self-talk, oh my gosh, I'm that disgusting that I can't even have a real boyfriend. Like, my friends have to invent a boyfriend for me. Like, that can really, really tear somebody up. And so in the aftermath, Faith is going to need friends. Faith is going to need people who love her, who care for her. She'll probably be a little bit high maintenance for a while. And this is just kind of what to expect, because, I mean, if she's already struggling with depression and then somebody did something, best of intentions, that's great, but it was a little bit of misguided, right? Maybe a lot misguided. But yeah, so the question now becomes damage control. How do we minimize the damage? How do we help Faith still feel loved and important and feel like a person, feel like someone who's lovable? Because those are all going to be things that she's probably going to struggle with in the aftermath of this. And that's going to be really hard for her. And so she's going to need, you guys to surround her with love. And, I know it's tough. But I see, okay, Ash, you have some more on here. Yeah, I've done stuff like that before. I made the persona disembodied spirit of a tangerine. But I really just lurk. I make sure that no one gets too close to that persona so they don't get hurt. And if they want to be friends with me, I want them to be friends with the real me. She might get mad I told anyone, LMAO, because if they are outside, even if they're outside the situation, yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. So that's totally fine. But this is what needs to happen. The best thing that can happen is Emily come clean to Faith as soon as possible, and done in a way that's gentle and caring, with the intention, like, explain the intention, and then make sure it's, when the apology happens, it can't be like, hey, I'm sorry you got hurt. Because that's not a real apology. The real apology is, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry that my actions did that. It was the wrong thing for me to do, and I feel horrible about it. I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings. And I hope you can forgive me. I'll do what I can, to try and make up for it. Whatever any, all this kind of stuff comes into play. And then you're going to have Faith sitting there. She's going to get this bomb dropped on her, and she's going to be hurting for a while. And I don't know how long. Probably depends a little bit on Faith's personality. You know, some personality types stay hurt longer. Some personality types get over stuff pretty quickly. But either way, it's gonna hurt, and so she's gonna need some loving. But anyway, I don't know. That's about all I can think of right now. Ryan, did you have anything else to talk about on this?
Honestly, no, I don't think I really have much. I mean, Ash, thanks for reaching out. Thanks for trying to do something to help correct this scenario, and thanks for already doing things to correct this scenario. Seems like you've already got the right actions going, you know, going forward. So I just applaud you and I say thank you for being some form of light in this very twisted situation.
Mm-hmm.
And just one last thing I suppose I could say is anybody don't hate on people like Emily. That's not what this is about.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I've made those similar mistakes before. You know, things get out of hand. You're trying to play a persona, and one thing next goes to another, and next thing you know, you've gone too far, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to back up, and you're stuck in it, and there's no backing out. You know, you do things with never the intention to hurt anybody. You're just having fun, and then yeah, it hurts. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I sympathize with Emily, and I hope that it sounds like she's already figured out that she needs to figure out a way around this and fix this, which is great. Great, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really good because there are definitely people in the world who would be like, I don't care. So I think that Emily is clearly a good person. And you know, we all do stupid things. So yeah. So just saying that so that we recognize that there's uh, obviously hating on people because they mess up or they do bad things from time to time is not
Mm-hmm.
acceptable. That's not
Right.
something we do here. So,
Right.
yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, and yeah, I'll give it back right over to you, Joe.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there that yes, even when we do something wrong, the last thing we need is a whole bunch of people hating us. That's probably that might happen anyway, right?
And
People
that
are going to be
drives people to do more wrong sometimes.
people are going to be mad, you know, people are going to be upset, you know, and just because somebody makes a mistake, I mean, I've made a mistake. I've made lots of mistakes. I've made so many mistakes I can't even count them. I've hurt people.
Yeah, there's no way I could count.
Yeah. And, you know, and I feel bad for any time that I've done that, you know. But yeah, just because Emily did this, you know, it's not a reason to ostracize her or, you know, do something vengeful or anything like that to try and get back at her. Um, the best thing to do is just, hey, you know, let the truth be known as softly as possible, as gently as possible, and then make sure that Faith has some support.
Yeah, foster love in her heart by loving on her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that's, yeah, it's going to be a tough blow.
Mhm.
There's not really a way around that. But yeah, Ash, you say, thank you guys for helping me. In a way, you've made me wiser, lol. Not just with this situation, but with all the other topics we've done. You know, hey, you make us wiser too, because then we have to think about this stuff and try and draw on our information and then put it out, you know. But a
Yeah.
lot of, you know, I've not experienced this, I don't think. I guess it's possible that I've experienced it and they just did like what you were thinking maybe would be a good idea, which would be to just like have the person, you know, ghost them or something. And then they're gone. And it's like, okay, well, maybe they weren't a real person in the first place. Who knows? Right? But I don't know. Uh anyway, thank you, Ash, so much for the topic. And hopefully some of that's helpful, and hopefully, man, my prayers are with this whole situation, with you, with Emily, with Faith, with everybody. And yeah, and I hope that there can be some healing. I hope that there can be some reconciliation. And the you know, the cool thing is, on the other side, there can be an even stronger friendship through working through something difficult like this.
Yeah, true.
So That's the beauty. We're coming up on Easter, right? And for those of you who are religious or even not religious, one of the things that gets said at the Easter vigil in a Catholic Easter vigil, in the like it's the main intro thing that where they're going through all this whole big litany of bunch of stuff, right? They say the words, "Oh happy fault." And they're talking about the original sin, right? Adam and Eve's fall, and they call it a happy fault. Because what it did was it made way for that to be redeemed. For Jesus to come and redeem this whole thing, right? And make a better situation than there was before. So that can be kind of your light at the end of the tunnel, that, even amidst all this turmoil, even though it's going to hurt, even though it's going to really stink for a while, if you tread lightly and do this correctly, you could end up with stronger friendships on the other side. And that could be a really, really cool thing. So it doesn't always happen, but it's possible. So anyway, my best wishes for you. This is a tough one, but I think you guys can do it. So anyway, thank you so much, Ash. Thank you for that topic. Thanks for sharing with us here on the show. Like I said, we couldn't do Don't Worry Wednesday without you guys and without your topics, and we love you guys so much. So yeah, with that, we will move on. What do you think?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. All right.
Heck yeah.
All right. Good.
Cruising.
Let's take a look. We are cruising. It might be a 4-topic night, man.
I'm going for 7.
Going for 7. We're going
I'm
for
kidding.
7.
That would not do anybody's topic justice.
No, you're probably right. It wouldn't. So, all right, let's get into the topics here. I'm gonna go back down through this list of names, and yeah, we'll see who's here. Going for 7. So all right, so we've got Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meowlido, Anonymous, Shark Jelly, Toby, and we have a new one from Saule. And I'm not quite seeing Saule's on my list yet. I'm going to reload it, and maybe it'll be here shortly.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it. All right. Perfect. So I
7
guess
hours. Thanks.
what we
Thanks
could
for having
do.
faith in us.
What's that?
That's hilarious. Soaking Pillows responded to my doing 7 to not unless we have 7 hours, Ryan.
Uh-oh.
That's great.
Who sounded grumpy? Did I sound grumpy? Ryan sounded grumpy, didn't he?
I'm always grumpy.
Man, you are. Look at you.
I have the grumpiest smile and even grumpier laugh.
Oh, Princess sounded grumpy. I don't
She
think
wasn't
she
grumpy.
sounded
She
grumpy.
said it with a smile.
Yes. All right. So how about we do this then? How about we do Anonymous, and then that'll give Princess a chance to get Saule's all wrapped up, and then we'll do that one. How's that sound? Is that a good plan?
Sure. It's a nice detour.
Nice detour since we have this Anonymous one. Oh, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be thoughts about the LGBTQ community. And this is from Anonymous. Oh boy. We're about to spark the controversy now.
Oh yeah, that's why I said detour, man. It's one of those.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, I'm going to put this up on the screen, and then Princess can read it aloud. So, Princess, it's all yours.
What's your opinion on gays or any part of the LGBTQ community? From Anonymous.
From Anonymous. All right. Hey, straightforward. I like it. Gonna be good. All right. What's your opinion on gays or any part of the LGBTQ community? In a word, well, in 3 words, I love you.
Yep.
Because you know what? You're a human. You're a person. You know, what your experience is as far as who you're attracted to, or, what you might be dealing with inside, that doesn't change your dignity. It doesn't change your value. It doesn't change any of that. You're still a person, and we still love you. And yeah, but I don't know. I don't think Ryan needs a whole lot of time to prepare for this. He's so good at loving people that I can just get right out of his way. He's good at that grumpy love with those big eyes like that,
Love you. Okay. That's how I love people, just like that. That's everything that happened in my face. No. Yeah, I mean, I think Joe really said it well. It's true. I think that the best approach about this topic in general to start with is I love you. LGBTQ community. So what I think is interesting here is it isn't what's your thoughts about LGBTQ. It's specifically the community, I'm assuming. And the thing about the community is that, like any community out there, it has bad apples and good apples, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a community is a group of individuals, but sometimes what you get is not an accurate representation of a bunch of individuals. Sometimes you get something called mob mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mob mentality is where things sometimes get out of hand, and if a couple of people are doing it, everybody's doing it. Everyone just kind of feels justified. They can get away with anything. I mean, we see this here in America recently. Within the last couple of years, politically, there was mob mentality where politics weren't going one way or another. People started to break into places, steal a bunch of stuff, and they got away with it, every one of them. That's mob mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you have to watch out for in any community. Any community can get out of hand. And just because you feel justified because of the community that you're in. You're like, we are a good community. We do good things, and therefore we're doing this now, apparently. And hey, you know what we stand for? We stand for these good things. So this must, and you kind of just get sucked into it all, and you kind of go into a rage where you're not yourself anymore, and you do bad things, right? So what I'm going to say about that is that stuff happens, and it puts a stain on our community. And that happened in the LGBTQ community a lot. But that doesn't mean we hate them. In fact, instead, what it means is we recognize that they're human. Because pretty much every community out there has done stupid stuff. And so I think it goes right back to what Joe said. I love you. The community is great. Why? Because it's trying to lift up the hearts of those who are under, a bad situation in our society, right? Who are what's the word? Rejected, or who are looked down upon for one reason or another, things like that, right? And so the community exists for a good cause. I think that's wonderful. And so that's great. That's great. One thing I dislike about the community is that it separates out people. It individualizes us in such a way that is damaging sometimes. Not everybody. I know friends who say I know LGBTQ friends who say they hate LGBT community because every time they ever try to get involved, they were ostracized. They were put aside. They were said, you don't belong here in this group. You belong in that group. We hate you, kind of. And it was crazy for them. Not everybody had that experience, right? But any community that has the ability to distinguish itself from others is also given the ability to distinguish the world and not allow it to be a part of it, or to hate on everybody who's not their kind. And that's something you got to watch out for. So this isn't just about LGBTQ. This is about everybody. If you are in a community where you're standing up for a group of people, you need to also be equal and stand up for other people who are outside of that community. Because otherwise you end up looking awful and mean and uncaring and unaccepting. I think LGBTQ, their common goal is to be accepted, But a lot of times what happens is they just shout from rooftops, you don't accept me and I don't accept you. And that doesn't solve anything, right? So I think my thoughts about LGBTQ community, it's good, but it's not perfect.
Mm.
And I think that it could have some improvement, and I hope it does have its improvements. But as far as actual LGBTQ people who aren't necessarily, they don't exist for the community, right? So everyone is an individual. So talking about individuals, I love the individuals. People are all different walks of life, and we all have different interests. We have different things that we react to. Some people are into cars, some people are into baseball, etc. I think that to identify someone entirely based off of what they like is not a good method, because it removes us from our it sort of removes us from our person to say that person is lesbian, right? And is that all that you see? Are you making that such a big deal that that's all you see in that person, that they're a lesbian? That's how you identify them? How about let's just go take a step back and say that's a human.
Mm-hmm.
That's a human. That is a creature to be loved and adored. How about that? I think that's more important to me. And I'll stand by that. I don't hate on anybody if they're lesbian, gay, bi, whatever. If you're trans, now transsexual isn't even necessarily about what you like. It's about how you feel about yourself, and that you aren't born as you were meant to be, right? So you take a transition from one gender to the other, right? And is that how you see that person? Is that all they are? Of course not. We see another human being to be loved and appreciated and adored, who has plenty to give to the world and deserves plenty to be given to them, especially in respects to love.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is a great question. And I think it's an important one in our society. But I think the best answer I can give to thoughts about the LGBT community is that it kind of counters the question, is can we focus on, I think a better question is, can we focus on something better, like thoughts about love or people or humans? Because that's really what LGBTQ community originally existed for.
Mm-hmm.
Searching for that equality, searching for acceptance, searching for love. So let's do that rather than divide. Because what happens, we see it everywhere, especially within the LGBT community, and that is division. Everyone thinks that their problem is different from each other's, and it is, but that separates people. But we should allow that to unite each other, not separate. I think that LGBTQ started with a great cause, but where it is right now, I think they can return to that cause. But I think that it isn't perfect. Nothing's perfect, and it still has its good points. But I think in the long run, in the longest run, the point of LGBT community should be to erase itself.
Mm.
That's
I
it.
like, yeah, because then when we're all equal, it doesn't
Then we
need
don't
to.
need
It
it.
doesn't need to matter anymore, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the LGBT community's goal should be to erase itself for the sake of equality, not to forever stand out as something against everybody else. But yeah, those are my thoughts. And yeah, I love people no matter where they're at. We're all different. It's okay. I'm gonna give it over to Joe.
Just that quick, huh?
We're trying to do 7 here.
You're right.
I don't want to take 7 hours, man.
Oh my gosh,
Some
yes.
fellow's got a life that he has to get back to.
Right. So all right. Well, I'm gonna say some of the stuff that Soaking Pillow has in the chat. There's some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good stuff here. However, okay, so wait, it started before that. Any human in the LGBTQ community or out of that community is a human. However, I tend to be a logic person, and I struggle to find any logical basis for it. Even from the view of Darwin's natural selection, I don't think that it supports itself. About the community, I found the overall community to be far more beneficial pre-2013 and 14. Back then, I knew people who were in it. They were just nice people, and they stood up for people in good ways. After that point in time, the community seemed to explode. At first, it was fine. Half of my school became gay/lesbians, but they were all great, nice people. But gradually, the community became militant. It began verbally attacking people and turning many of those nice people into people who just argued and then just screamed instead of arguing. The rapid growth of communities seemed to hurt the people, not help them. And what Ryan just said is spot on. Yes, I would agree with that, especially that last one. What Ryan just said was spot on for sure. Yeah, you've got some really good points in here. Soaking Pillow. So, I want to address the logic person, right? The logic person struggle to find a logical basis for the LGBTQ, probably that behavior, when you're looking at Darwin's natural selection, right? But here's the thing, we are drawn to things that may not follow the natural order, right? I mean, I've had this conversation with people. You look at human anatomy and there's a way things are supposed to fit together. And, so there's a natural order to things and, but sometimes we are attracted to things that are outside that natural order. And it's not necessarily our fault. It's not our fault to have these attractions or attachments or, sometimes we're just drawn to these things. The heart loves who it loves sometimes, and we're drawn to what we're drawn to. And it may not necessarily be our fault. It may not be a choice that we consciously get to make. We may be compelled, right? And so I can't be the judge for any of these people because I don't know what's going on inside their heart. I don't know what's going on in their mind. I don't know, where this stemmed from. I don't know any of that. And so I have to base my knowledge on this is a person. And so I really want to dig back into one thing that Ryan was talking about, and that is the whole the thing that I have trouble with is the identifying somebody with an attraction that they have. Right? So if my whole identity is based on who I'm attracted to, that's really shallow. That doesn't dig into the depth of who I am as a person. That doesn't dig into what I'm good at, what my talents are. It doesn't, my likes and my dislikes, my dreams, my goals, things that have hurt me in the past, all these different things that make up who I am. It throws so much of that to the side and says the main thing is who you're attracted to sexually. That's your
Yeah,
identity.
is that all we are as humans? Animals with just sexual power? It's not
Right, exactly.
It's not our essence to begin with.
Right. We are so much more than that. And it does a person a disservice to focus on that above everything else. Now, here's the thing. We spent a great many years in a culture that was very anti-lesbian, gay, all this kind of stuff. So the tables needed to be turned to help understand that, wait, this isn't necessarily something these people chose. So we need to be compassionate. We need to understand. We need to learn about this. And so like what you were talking about, Soaking Pillow, pre-2013, 2014, it was about awareness and about, helping people to try to understand, right? But here now we are, and apparently we might have gone a little bit over the edge into the militant zone, like you were saying in your comment, that sometimes, okay, the whole idea is to be equal. We want equal rights as humans, regardless of what we might be, what our internal passions or internal wiring or whatever, we do have basic human rights, and we should have those. Just because somebody is attracted to somebody of the same sex, that doesn't mean that they should be, discriminated against. That doesn't mean that they should be, I mean, and there was all kinds of stuff. I mean, people get made fun of. I mean, people get made fun of still, but people get made fun of for everything. I tell you what.
Yeah.
I,
People get physically attacked and stuff like that too. And
oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible, and it's just people out there. It's hard because when you get militant, what that tells me is you've gone beyond just trying to raise awareness and trying to raise acceptance and trying to be equal. And now you're saying, I deserve more because I am this. Right? I deserve an advantage because I am this. But it really should be, hey, we should accept each other as people. We should honor each other as people. And we should go beyond LGBTQ and dig into these things that people are good at. My kid's pediatrician is a fantastic pediatrician. She's a lesbian. It has no bearing on her ability to be a physician. She's great. And, so that's her profession. That's just one aspect, right? The fact that she's lesbian, that's just one aspect. And there's even more. I'm sure there's depth of character. Maybe she plays instruments. Maybe she enjoys jazz. Maybe she likes art. Maybe she does glass blowing or pottery or who knows, Maybe she's a cat lover. Maybe she's a dog lover. I don't know. But all
maybe
these
she used to be
things-
one and now it isn't anymore because of
right.
one thing or another. There's a lot of history too.
Maybe she loves COVID. Who knows, right?
Man, bless the heart that loves COVID.
Right. Who knows?
I don't know.
But all I'm trying to say is LGBTQ, that's one small slice of a human experience. And to focus on that as somebody's whole identity cheapens them as a person. And that frustrates me. I'm all about raising awareness, and I'm all about saying, hey, we should accept and love people where they're at, regardless. We should. There should not be hate crimes of any kind. There should not be terrorism of any kind. There should not be any of this stuff. But it's, there's all kinds of evil in the world. And it stinks, and it causes pain, and it causes suffering. And so somebody's got to stand up and do something about it, right? And so that was the early movement where they were trying to raise awareness. They were trying to do all this stuff, right? And that was good. We just want to be accepted. And they should be. Everybody should be. But once you get past the point of acceptance and into, I need an advantage because I fit into this group. Now all you're saying is, hey, we've given an advantage to a certain group of people. Now there's a precedent. What happens when that group changes? What happens when the brackets of that group shift a little bit? And then all of a sudden there's people who used to be in that advantageous group who are not in that advantageous group. And now they're upset. So they got to come up with something else to gain an advantage over the people who have the advantage. Right? And it just turns into this big mess. So, I don't know.
If I may?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, this reminds me of something actually in my peace studies class. That often what happens and what brings about peace and change is not when the oppressed becomes the oppressor. So that's often what kind of happens. What it needs to be is that the oppressed have to raise up the oppressor and get them to understand what they're doing so that they can stop. But they can't turn into the oppressor, because if they turn into the oppressor, then the new oppressed have to do the same thing. But it's just a constant war then of, well, I want to be the one that has the rights. I want to be the one that has the power. I want to be the one that's not being constantly hurt or. So some of that becomes a trap, right? You know, they want to not be oppressed. They want to have that freedom. They don't want people to discriminate against them. They don't want them to look at them weird. They don't want them to hate on them just because part of their identity is this. Part of the way they present themselves is this. Part of the way they think of themselves is this. You know, if people see me and see like, oh, she's a girl, but she likes gaming. Ooh, that would be so
That's so
rude to
gross.
base me on a small part of my person. I like games, it's a small part of me. There's a lot to me, but that's a part of me. I like games, but to judge me based solely on that wouldn't be right. Just like how it wouldn't be right to do it for this either. I also see that in the chat there's some things about not understanding. And again, part of what it is I think it's people discovering and understanding themselves. I've had my own struggles with this where I was like, okay, I am not your typical girl. I enjoyed climbing trees. I enjoyed playing tag. I played mostly with guys. I had no interest in gossip, no interest in makeup. And I didn't fit in with most of the other girls I saw. And I was like, oh, well, what am I then? Because a lot of that is sometimes seen as, if you don't fit in with the norm of something and you're not within that, then you can't be that, or if you fit into a nice, neat box, then you need to stay in the box, that you have to like only those things. If you're a guy, you can't like girly things, or you can't have that many shoes, or for girls like, oh no, don't get dirty. That's, you can't do that at recess. You can't rough around. And it's like, some of it comes down to limiting based on what your actions are. What your actions are determine that, which it shouldn't be, right? Your identity shouldn't be based on the things that you do in that sense, I don't think. If I like to play, volleyball, that shouldn't make me automatically a girly girl or something.
Is that a
Not
girly
that I do.
I don't know.
In my
I think
school,
volleyball is really
girls
fun.
was volleyball,
It's
but
one of my
then
favorite
boys was
sports to play.
basketball. And so girls didn't do a lot of basketball until high school, where it was finally acceptable to play basketball as a girl. It was like, that's not how that works. Yeah, but and some of this is a scale too for understanding just, people are all in different spots. Some are like superly hyperly attracted to people, and it's like Cupid's arrow, pew pew pew. They're like, oh, you're pretty, oh, you're gorgeous, oh, you're such a beautiful human being, and they see it everywhere, and so they just have to say it to everybody because they're like, oh my gosh, and part of that is who they are, but and then there's some that are like, I don't get this. I don't get this whole romantic thing. Makes no sense to me. But even so, that even if that's part of your identity, it shouldn't be something that, you get ridiculed for or prevents you from doing certain things. And, for an internal debate, for a while it was like, am I a guy? Am I a girl? Am I just changing? That's why I thought I was gender fluid, which, technically I could be. I don't know. I could put myself under that label, and you know what? It would be right, because that's how I view myself. But at the same time, that doesn't change the fact that I could also be a woman and be in that same field, right? I can be switching around or feeling like, oh, well, I don't really feel gendered at the moment, but that doesn't change anything for what other people interact with me as, right? But even so, it's about a personal perspective more so than, that sort of thing. And so in the end, it's kind of understanding yourself and knowing yourself and feeling confident and strong in yourself so that you can actually be who you want to be.
Yeah. Well said.
Well said.
Oh my God.
Awesome. Thank you, Princess. Oh my gosh. And sorry, we had a little bit of a glitch there. Your and now we got another one. Oh my gosh. Look at this. We got glitches all over the place. Holy
OBS
cow.
is not having it today.
OBS is just, yeah. So you got really small and Ryan was right behind you. It was pretty amazing.
Oh man.
Awesome. Gotta let his gloriousness shine through.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And now, and it's so crazy because now it fixed itself. But now
Weird.
Ryan's small. Yep. Hey
All
Ryan,
right. Should
how
I
you
talk
doing?
small?
So I should try and so if I so watch, now I'm gonna fix you. And then oh, it fixed itself. How about that?
You just have to touch it, remind it that you exist, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to straighten up.
Small Ryan.
So
Yes.
crazy. So crazy. But anyway, wow. Man, we had some really good stuff. Princess, you had some really great stuff. Holy cow. Ryan, did you have anything else to say about this?
I suppose I do, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Soaking pillow. I'm just gonna read your comments here. And if anybody is an LGBTQ, just recognize that Soaking Pillow is not a bigot. He's legitimately asking questions because he doesn't understand and he wants to understand. So, it says, it is not so much the attraction I find illogical, it's the decision to follow it. I used to want to be a girl, but still attracted to girls. But I thought about it from many different perspectives and decided that it made no sense for me to try to be a girl, accept what I am, and just accept what I am, regardless of what I like or think I want. I want people to have choices, but some choices just don't make sense to me. Also, that internal debate I had about being a guy but wanting to be a girl happened back in elementary school. He said also, what you just said is a big part of what I think hurt the people in the community. Joe. Oh, okay, that's referring to something else. Okay. Anyways, back to that. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. Oh, do we have more small me? Cool.
You're fixed now.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, I'm normal again. So anyways, I identify as small. Anyways, the thing you're saying is illogical. I actually had a similar debate with myself when I was in elementary school as well, because I didn't mind playing with dolls. I played with Barbie dolls that were my stepsisters. I played it with them. I didn't play with them by myself, but I played with them. When they were playing, I just played with them. I was into things that were girly. I didn't care about guily things like, sports, things like that. I don't care. But that doesn't have anything to do with my gender, of course. And that's what I decided when I was in elementary, right? I looked at that, and my end conclusion, however logical I can be as an elementary schooler, was that, okay, so apparently guys can like things that are labeled as girly, and there's no real girly thing or guy-ish thing. That's not even a real thing. It's just what people label them as, regardless of whether. See, the only thing that are really guy or girl based are things that are essentially biologically important. So, for example, uh, um, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble. Tampons, for example, they're girly. Why? Because there is no use for them as a male, physically, right? So I would register like, okay, so the only things that are girly and guy-ish are those things, because that's really all that makes sense to me. And that was my conclusion when I was in elementary school, right? And I think the issue with your, I shouldn't say issue. I think what you're trying to do, Soaking Pillow, is you're trying to take this logic and apply it to people's understanding of self. And understanding of self, as Princess was talking about, is a very difficult thing, because how the heck do you understand yourself to begin with? That's hard. How do you understand other people and how you relate to them? That's another issue. And how do you know how you fit into what or what not? In the end, what ends up happening to an individual, and I can't speak on everybody's behalf, but on most people's behalf, for example, if they're transgendered, right? What ends up happening is that the way they logically figure out what they are is that that it makes the only thing that they can make sense of is that their soul was meant to be female and they're stuck in a male's body, or their brain was meant to be female and they're stuck in a male's body, and so they are transgendered, or the other way around, female to male, doesn't really matter. So it's not that they're necessarily being illogical or trying to find logical in the physical realm. They're trying to be logical with their own understanding of self. And that's a really hard thing to do no matter what. Whether you're straight or you're trans or whatever, cisgendered or trans or whatever. Just because, how do we understand what other people feel? You know, Joe has said before, he explained that he didn't understand what it's like to feel like a female, and he doesn't really understand what it's like to feel like a guy. He just is one. And that's the way I feel, right? I don't know what it's like to be a female, so how could I say that I think I'm meant to be a female? That's my dilemma, right? But my understanding or lack thereof isn't a logical reason to throw out their understanding. Does that make sense? So me saying, I don't understand how you can even begin to feel like a gender, that doesn't make sense. Like, to me, it literally still doesn't make sense. How can you feel a gender? I don't get it. I don't get it. But my lack of understanding doesn't mean they don't understand. And my lack of understanding in it doesn't mean that it's illogical for whatever reasoning that they've used to get to where they are. So I would say that if you feel like it isn't logical, that's a respectable opinion, because I can understand that, because it is hard to understand. How is this logical? But at the same time, it's important to realize that your lack of understanding isn't necessarily enough to make it logical for them to say that they're illogical, right? So I would say I would approach it differently. Instead of saying that the whole idea is illogical, you could say it doesn't make logical sense to me from the things that I know about the world and I have experienced, right? So it's a really tricky subject to begin with, and it's really tricky to understand the other person. And that's why was this movement to begin with, the LGBTQ movement, because it is very, very hard to understand the other person and their perspective when you haven't experienced or felt or can even fathom. We had a person on here who has a friend, and their friend has an issue where they have dual personalities. Each day they have a name which they go by, right? And the people in the classroom couldn't, at least one of the people in the classroom had a hard time understanding that. And rightfully so, because they haven't experienced that. How do you, if someone else has a problem or an experience or a way that their brain is formed, and your brain is not formed that same way, which it isn't, then the point is it's not easy to grasp what they're going through. And so for me, when I look at someone who's transgender, I look at someone whose brain, their heart, maybe their soul, formed in a very different way than mine, and that's acceptable and totally okay. And it's not just for me to judge them for that. They have been given what they've been given, and they're attempting to make the best of it, right? And that's all it is. People do what they do because they want to be happy. And they're not happy, so they're trying to do something that can make them happy. Will it make them happy? I think in some cases, no. In other cases, yes. So ultimately, the best thing we can do is understand that, hey, their mind is different than mine. Their body is different than mine. Their soul is different than mine. The best thing I can do, even if I can't quite piece all of the logic together, because I'm not them and I don't think the way they think, I don't even know what they're experiencing to begin with. I don't even know I don't understand it. Well, perfect. The best thing you can do is be humbled, recognize that we don't know everything, we can't know everything. To be humbled and recognize that they are just as valuable as you are. And even if it was illogical, they're still just as valuable. But maybe it's not illogical. So my point is, the best thing you can do is love them, because that's all that really matters. Now, love is a question of like, well, you want the best for them. So isn't the best stopping them if it's illogical and it will hurt them? I think in some cases, sure. But who are you to say? I think that needs to be drawn out, right? And sometimes it goes bad, sometimes it goes good. I mean, test results, or sorry, examination results over the many years that trans had the ability to get a physical replacement of body parts. Since that science has been available to us, we've been following people, and we found that the first 8 years, people tend to be happier and there's less suicide. After 8-year mark, it gets worse than before they ever transitioned. The amount of people that have committed suicide 8 years after is higher than people who have never gotten the transgender or who feel transgender but never gotten the surgery. So it's something to ask, right? It's something to question. And I think the end result of that is it's not about the physical state of your body that makes you happy or not. It can be, but that isn't what happiness is. It isn't being like, oh, there we go. Now my body matches my mind, or my body matches my soul. It's much different than that. And if you give that all of the effort, if you place all the responsibility of your happiness on that element, I think then you're doomed to fall, right? And so we don't want to do that. We want to love on these people and encourage them to have a happy attitude towards themselves, regardless of their body and how they feel. And that's the best thing we can do. And that is logical. And that has no bearing on whether they're trans or not. That's just a true statement, regardless of if you're trans or not, right? So that's my best answer, Saule. I recognize that it doesn't probably completely, fully answer the question, but I gave it my best shot to help you in a direction. But anyways, let me know what you think about that. Anyways, I'm done. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate that. And I think, man, I can't think of anything I could put on top of that. That was wonderful. So, wow. Anonymous, thank you for your topic. I hope you get a chance to take a look at this. I hope you get a chance to see all of our wonderful stream glitches that have happened during this. This topic, we had a whole bunch of them. It was great. But yes, the LGBTQ community, we love you. Yes, you should have equal rights as anybody. You should have equal dignity. You do have equal dignity as every other person in the world. And, you know, we respect you. We love you. And we're glad you're here. So, anyway, we should move on. What do you think?
Yeah. We have
I
one
think
from
it sounds like a great plan. What's that?
aka Soaking Pillow, right?
Yep, we've got one from Saule, aka Soaking Pillow. And let's see, we're gonna do that one next as promised. This is the ethics of resume writing. Ooh.
The ethics of it. Ah, wow. I love this already. Nice.
Wow. Yeah, this is gonna be good. All right, so I'm gonna get this up on the screen so Princess can read it, and then I'll get out of her way. So, Princess, whenever you're ready.
I have had to begin searching for a job after college to begin my career. As I was researching what I need to put on my resume and in my cover letter, I began to feel like I can't make a good resume or cover letter and feel right about it. You're supposed to make yourself look really good, better than anyone else who applies for that job. But everyone has their issues. There are going to be pros and cons to every person that applies, but everyone is just trying to show that they can do the job and come with the least drawbacks. So nobody is going to present any of their downsides. I know that there are downsides to any company that hires me. I have doubled the time on tests and quizzes since middle school, and even if I'm really good at a job, there are probably other candidates that are just as qualified, but can get the job done in half the time. And that's just one example. So, with all this, I've gotten really worked up basically every time I've gone to work on trying to write a resume or a cover letter or apply for a job. What are the ethics involved in trying to get a job from your point of view? Sorry. I've only ever gotten jobs from people who know me and asked me to work for them, or going to a person to a to a shop that I knew needed people to work for them. In the latter case, I went in and they said, "Hey, I heard that you may need an extra worker. I could work for you," or something to that effect. But now I'm working on starting a career, and that old method is not going to cut it. And I just don't feel right about making a good job application.
Mm.
From Salale.
I like this topic. What do you think, Ryan?
It's a fantastic topic.
It's a
I
fantastic
relate.
topic. Because I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. My resume, it's on the sunny side of the truth, right? Now, it's the truth, but it's the sunny side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'll tell you what. This is so great. I love fixing your video size like every 6 seconds. It's so
Oh my gosh.
fun.
I am so sorry, Joe. I'm so sorry.
Dude.
And I was supposed to host today, but it was not even working for me. At least it worked a little bit for you. Imagine. Sorry, man.
It's all good. It's all good. It's good practice. So we got small static, we got big static. For some reason, mine's not affected. It's weird. Like that must be because since it's my computer running it. Now you're covering the whole thing.
Sorry.
This awesomeness cannot be contained.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It cannot.
Great.
Anyway, all right. So this is a good topic. And yeah, now you're right. I hear where you're coming from. I just want to be straightforward and honest. And we should be, right? But a resume and a cover letter is there to focus on your strengths. It's there to focus on so they know what you've learned, what you're good at, all these kinds of things, right? That's what they want to know. See, they're going to figure out your shortcomings when they, present themselves. It's going to happen. But what they need to know, can you do the job? And can you get along with the people that you're going to be working with? Like, really, kind of, that's the thing. Like, if I'm going to spend money on this person coming to work for me, do they have the skill? Do they have the knowledge? And can they work well with the people that work here? Right? At least in my mind, that's kind of what's important. So in a job interview, like they're gonna want to have this conversation and learn this stuff about you, all this kind of stuff, right? But the resume, the cover letter, all that's like the thing that gets you the interview, right? And in some of those cases, I mean, I'm guessing you're going to be graduating from college, and so you're looking at these job boards and stuff. So the field has already been narrowed to people in your specific field that have your specific degree, right? And so I don't think you need to lie. I don't think you need to be, say anything that's exaggerated or anything like that. But just point out what you're good at, point out your accomplishments, and dig into that. And I think you'll do just fine. So, but hopefully Ryan's had a chance to think about this a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to him, and I'm going to mess with his video size about 20 times while he talks. So it's going to be great. So anyway, Ryan, take it away.
I second that. Back to you, Joe.
Oh, perfect. All right. I don't have to mess with my video size. I can keep.
Yeah, anyways, yeah. So absolutely. The thing here is this. If it were me and I was creating a resume, if I were you, I guess, whatever we want to, however that phrase is supposed to go, I would find a really sly way that kind of hints at this issue if it's concerning you, and put it right on my resume. Like, I'm good at dealing with messed up people. or I'm good at dealing with imperfection or imperfect people like myself. Things like that, where it's just like, yeah, that is a strength. And he recognizes that people aren't perfect and that he's one of them, so he's humble too. That's great, right? You don't want to put I'm humble on your resume. But you do want to put I'm good at dealing with imperfect people like myself. So it's completely different. So you could, if you really wanted to, if you wanted to be kind of put a needle in the whole package, um, of the way resume letters are written and their silly nature. Yeah, you could do something like that. You could try to find a great positive that sort of just kind of throws itself under the bus. And maybe that sense of humor or that that one line will really stand out to them, because what you want to do with a resume letter is get your foot in the door. And it's a lot easier to do that if if your resume stands out, if it makes you memorable. It's just like an interview, right? When you go to an interview with someone, the people that get hired are the people that make the emotional connection, right? You go to an interview with someone and you make them laugh, you make them smile, you make them feel like you've been friends for a while, you make them feel like you're a lot like them. That's a really good one. You make them feel like you're a lot like them. You find things to agree on and so on in an interview, and you're like, this is supposed to be about a job, but we just ended up getting carried away and had a fun time. That is how you do an interview, right? That's how you get. That's how most people get their jobs, because the person that's hiring you it sees there's all sorts of different people with great talents, but they feel something different about you, and that's what compels them to hire you. With a resume, right, you have someone who's reviewing them and comparing, contrasting your pros, and they go, look at all the pros they have. Okay, who has the most pros? Yeah, this guy kind of looks like a suspicious liar over here. Okay, I don't feel good about that one. I don't feel good about that one, so I'm gonna turn that one down, right? Feeling again, right? Um, yeah, I mean, people recognize that. People already know that resumes are kind of a bunch of garbage in the first place. They're there to show, ultimately, the main things that you want to show in your resume is that you worked hard to get where you are now. That's the main thing, right? Because that's the kind of people want to hire. If they look at your resume and they think, wow, this person has worked really hard and patiently and continually to get where they are now, I can see that they have good work ethics, right? That is the major thing people look for in resumes. If they look at a resume and the person kind of looks like they're dodgy, kind of looks like they're in and out of working hard, that they don't have good work ethic, those ones are the ones that get denied right out the door, because people want good employees with good work ethics. So it's about displaying your good sides. Yeah, all the things you've accomplished. Yeah, sure. But what you're trying to do with the resume is ultimately convey that you don't give up, that you work hard, and that you are willing to do the job, and that you're someone that's reliable based on your past. And so that's why they always ask for your past in resumes. You know, what did you do? Where did you go to school? How did you graduate? What degree did you have? Where did you work before this? Right? There's a lot of those questions in there because they want to know, are you reliable? And so if you can make those selling points, I think that you have a uh, better chance. As far as going like not putting your downsides in there, yeah, it's absolutely unrealistic. In fact, I think if someone were to put their downsides, and someone who has an enlightened mind could read that and say, wow, this person is clearly very honest, that kind of makes me want to hire them, because this is a job that requires honesty. And I'm sick and tired of unhonest employees, because I've run into unhonest employees time and time and again, right? That is a thing that some people would recognize. Some employers would absolutely honor your honesty, and they would be compelled by it to hire you. So a resume is what you make it. You don't have to make it all sunshine and glory. In fact, if you do, obviously that makes you out to be someone who is egotistical. Your resume is clearly all about you and how good you are. You have no faults, huh? It is one of those things. Resumes are like that, right? But the thing is, when people are looking at a resume, they're trying to find, like, okay, what are the good points? That's all, that's what we want to find out first. When I was listening to all the different voice actors and voice actresses, I was listening to their voice and see if it sounded good. Some of them left their resumes. Like, hey, these are the different jobs I've worked in the past, and these are the different kind of characters I can do, and hey, feel free to check out my demo reel, and so on and so forth. And I think that's great. It was, they're all selling points. In the end, we just picked based on who we thought was the best voice for the characters, right? And had a good quality mic. They had a good sound to them, and they could clearly act out emotion appropriately for those characters, right? So the thing is about jobs, and I think a lot of employers recognize this, pretty much almost anyone can do any job. It's true. It doesn't take long to train someone to do most jobs. Most jobs that exist out there, almost anyone can do them, as long as they, I guess, graduate high school. Even before that, like, there's people who've never graduated high school, and they could be just fine working at NASA, doing whatever some of the employees do there. It's true. It's just true. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to work at NASA. It helps. But you learn on the job a lot of times. There's a lot of employers that you'll get hired by, and they say, hey, forget everything you knew. This is how we do things here. They will literally tell you that. So my point is, the resume, I think a lot of employers know it's all false glorification of self.
Mm.
And if you feel so inclined to present an honest resume, I can bet you that whoever hires you off of that is probably a pretty great person to work for.
Mm.
Because they clearly recognize the faux pas of resume and have care for someone who's honest. And it might give you that edge. Like I said before, it's about getting your foot in the door, about looking fancy and being noticed. And if everyone else just has a perfect resume and you come in and you're like, look, let's be honest. I mean, what stands out more than that? I think that you have a good chance. As long as you also give your positive side, I don't think there's anything wrong with, being a little honest and kind of, I don't know, stabbing the man where he needs to be stabbed. That's my take on it. Joe might have a completely different perspective, and he's done more jobs than I have. So I'm gonna give it over to him and see what he's got to say.
It's true. I've had lots of jobs. I was a serial job getter for a while. Many times having multiple jobs at the same time. Many times, like 2 to 3 jobs at the same time. It's interesting because you put together a resume, and it depends on the job. Now, there are jobs that require skills, right? There are jobs that require college education. There are jobs that require certain things that you're going to learn in that higher education, and that's a foundation. It's expected that you know that stuff, right? And so the door wouldn't even be open to you unless you completed that. But then once that door is open through your completion, then you can start to, now they're looking for, okay, what have you done in the past? Da, 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 da. There are guidelines for resumes and stuff like that. You can do a Google search and stuff like that. I actually, at one point in time, I hired a person to help me write a resume. I paid her, I think I paid her like $100 or $75 or something like that. We sat down, she went through all my list of stuff, she asked me a whole bunch of questions about my history, stuff like that. And, so she went through all this with me, put together a really cool looking resume, and it was great and everything. I got a job at a car wash. It was cool. And I got interviewed at Verizon, and I didn't get the job there because I just botched the interview horribly. It was one of those interviews. It was weird. Like, I'm used to an interview where I sit with the person across from his desk and we talk. We have a conversation, like person to person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular interview, when I went to go try to work for Verizon, they sat me in a chair at the front of a room, and like there were 3 people interspersed throughout the room, and they're like, and I felt like really uncomfortable, right? Like I'm just like, whoa, this is weird. And they're like, and every question felt like they were poking at something, like poke, and I'm like, okay, this is really weird for me. I'm sorry. But yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, so your resume, I would follow some guidelines and don't lie. As long as you don't lie, you're probably fine. Okay? But it's interesting because you can leave facts in and leave facts out and still be telling the truth. And it's totally fine because they want to know your strengths. They want to know what you're good at. And that's okay. It's okay to put that on there. The thing that gets challenging is we don't like to talk good about ourselves, right? We don't. And so that's why I would almost encourage you to work with a person, if you have a little bit of money, do some shopping and you can talk to a resume writer, because that takes that pressure off of you to come up with those good things about yourself and to talk good about yourself. They will do it for you, and then they'll just ask you the questions so they can be honest, and then they will put it in good wording to make you look good. It's interesting. I've recently had a fair amount of time with legal professionals, lawyers, attorneys, right? And what we pay them for, I've come to be convinced that there's a language called legalese. And what we do is we pay them to speak legalese for us. So then our opponent can hire somebody to also speak legalese, and they can speak legalese to each other, and then they can tell us in layman's terms what that means. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of seems to be the gist of it. But I'm really glad to have my lawyer because she asked me a bunch of questions. She asked me a bunch of things about the situation, all that kind of stuff, and then she put it in terms that made sense and was concise, and it was still legalese, right? But that's what they want to see in court. So anyway, it's pretty wild. But anyway, so your resume, don't be afraid to point out the things that you're good at, because that's what they want to know. Now, here's the thing. I always thought it'd be kind of fun experience. Now maybe I'll do this experiment. Ryan, you can approve or disapprove of this experiment, right?
All right.
And so I'm thinking, all right.
Well, I'm currently employing you, so I guess at worst case scenario,
that's very true.
I don't get to fire you because it's an executive decision between many people.
Right.
It's not just my.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So we'll ask the group, right? And we'll be like, okay,
we'll ask the group.
Joe wants to do an
experiment. After this rough experiment that he did. The answer will be yes. We love you, Joe. Please stay. Anyways, go on.
I always thought it'd be funny to like put out a resume. It's like, okay, everything I stink at.
You won't get hired.
Well, I would just like to see, I would like to just put it out there and see if people would, out of curiosity, want me to come in for an interview. You know what I mean? Just to see, just to try and see. It'd be an interesting experiment, but I don't know.
So I looked over your resume here, and it's not looking good. But this one thing, we manufacture staplers, and you didn't specify that. So I'm gonna go off on a wing here and say have you ever failed this? Okay, how about you just come in? We're gonna have you come in and do an interview.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's gonna be like. And you're gonna be like, no, please.
Yep. Who knows?
But that's a great idea. I love the idea.
It'd be kind of fun. But anyway, so late. It's okay. I see you've got in the chat. You're going as soaking pillow in the chat. I've been using the College Career Services office to help me. That's the only reason I have a resume at all. All right. Well, good. Follow their advice. You know?
Yep, their job is to get other people jobs.
Yep.
In a way.
Follow their
another job for
advice.
that.
They're a great
but yeah.
resource, especially if they're free. You know, my college has a thing where for the rest of my lifetime, if I ever need to, I can reach out to their career services and be like, hey, I need help with resume or job stuff or all of that. And they will help me, even though I'm just an alumni now.
That's cool.
But I can relate to this because last September, I was in the same shoes. No, May. All the way back in May. I forgot because I didn't hear back from the people who finally hired me until September, even though I applied for their job in May. It's a very interesting time. I thought they had totally forgotten or I had been already shuffled out. But nope, they were like, hey, we want to call and interview you. I was like, oh, really? Wow. You know, but I did my own fair share of, well, I had to sit down, and the easiest part is writing out like, oh, well, this is my education. This are the classes I've completed. Because, you know, I'm looking for science because I'm in science, you know, and I'm like, oh, what are some skills? Well, I remember that I was told in school to write down some of the skills, even if it's as dumb as micropipetting, because that's the basic of a molecular scientist's job is they pipette. But that's an important skill to remember to put on there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one that got you hired. They saw that and they said, oh, she's the only one that's good at this. Let's take her.
Then I put job experience, which was the lab, and then I put Don't Worry Wednesday on there because I had nothing better to do. And so I was like, you know what? I'll put that on there for communication and teamwork.
Yeah.
Maybe a solid organization. But, you know. But I really wanted to focus on how do I present myself? Because part of it is it's okay to speak good about yourself. Like, you don't have to be an honest and true person of yourself. You don't have to say your weak points. I don't have to say I'm passionate, anxious, and detail-oriented research assistant. You know, I can just say I'm a passionate and detailed-oriented research assistant, and that would be true about me, right? I don't have to shove in, you know, all my faults or all the things I'm not good at. Yes, they're a part of you, but, you know, that's generally what an interview for is they want to know, hey, what was a time where you struggled and you made a difference? You know, or where was a time where you stepped up and made a difference? And it's like, well, you see, there was a struggle with this, or there was a struggle with that, or, you know, part of mine was I always use this. It was research inventory. Oh boy, everyone's favorite thing in the world, but you know, it was very important. The lab was disorganized. We had like 40,000 40,000 samples that you had to keep track of, such that they weren't inventoried. So we had to go through the whole dang thing to inventory the whole thing. But you can't just do that. You also have to fix the system, of which people hate change. And so, you know, it was a struggle for me because I had to figure out how do I present this in a way that they'll accept it, but also in a way that, you know, works. You know, I have to work with people and I'm not always the greatest at it, but this was a moment where I was really passionate about it. And I went and I made the blank. That way you could actually put that there's no sample there. So when you go to inventory, you can do that. There's Ryan. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to take care of that. So if it happens again,
take care of me, Joe. Just nix me for the rest of this episode.
Thank you, Joe, for taking care of our show. But anyways, you know, you can present yourself and you're still you, even if you aren't pointing out all of your flaws, right? You don't have to be the fastest, but if you get it done right the first time, people appreciate that because you know it takes more time having to do it again because you messed it up. Puka's learned that one the hard way, but regardless, you know, so even when you're doing something that's outside of your skill set, you know, it's okay that you don't just say like, oh, well, you know, I'm not really in marketing research, but I applied to one that was like, for marketing. And I was like, I'm interested in applying my skills to your marketing service team and creating clear informational, promotional, and educational content for various audiences. You know, that's what I care about. And that's partly what they're looking for. And it's partly what I think I have that I can bring to the table. I don't bring my anxiety to the table because it's not going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
not what
So
they're looking for. They're asking you, hey, I want to see a really cool person in front of me. Show me your coolness.
Mm-hmm. Well, all you have to do is
So,
sit in front of them, and then they know.
yeah, that's true. It's true.
It is true.
I have to at
Lucky.
least talk.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
then that makes you infinitely cooler.
But anyways, that's all I got. Just I remember from my experience that, it was tough because I wanted to make something that's true to me, but at the same time, I have weaknesses. But often it's kind of preparing for the interview is recognizing what your weaknesses are and turning those into strengths. Because
Mm-hmm.
often you find that the weaknesses you have can be strengths if you put them in a different perspective. My anxiety is obviously a weakness because I get anxious and then in the middle of work I get to go down to the gymnasium and go dancing in it for a while. Woohoo. But it is also productive in that, I'm aware of others. I have a high awareness of others. And so therefore, because I have this high awareness, it also makes it easier for me to work with teams because I can be aware of them and I can come to their level so that we work well together rather than getting offended or being really rigid in how I do things versus how they do things and cause friction.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I will leave you with is if you want to do something, also think about what your weaknesses are and how they are also your strength
Mm-hmm.
or can be a strength of yours.
I like
Yes.
that.
I have a good example of that actually when I have job interviews because one of my weaknesses is actually, you guys have heard this if you've seen this show ever.
I know what you're gonna
You know, what am I the best at? I always used to tell my kids, what am I good at? And they're like messing things up. And I'm like, okay, that's true. So, how can I turn that into a strength? And so here's the thing, like I actually said this and the interviewer loved it. The manager thought it was hilarious, first of all. And it's actually really true. And so they're like, okay, so what would you say a weakness of yours is? And I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I try hard and I do things fast. So if I'm doing something wrong, I'm going to do a lot of things wrong really fast. So you need to stop me and tell me to do how to fix it. And I'll listen, I'll follow your instructions. But that was one of the things and it is true because, when I was that job was I was stocking shelves at a grocery store and I had done that before, so I was already pretty good at it, and so I could
say.
I could do a lot pretty fast. And so I told him, I was like, look, I will get a lot done wrong really fast if I'm doing it wrong. So if you see me doing something wrong, you need to tell me so then I can do it right. But really, those are some of those things. I love that what you said, Princess, that, find your weaknesses and see how they can be a strength because they can. You can, there's a yin to a yang, right? There's a good side to a bad side. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah. All
I
right.
get what you're saying.
Yeah. So anyway, that's awesome. Ryan, did you have anything else on this topic?
Nope. I'd say just listen to what Joe and Princess said, and if you feel like you don't care too much if you want to get a job, because you're just confident that you'll get one, and whoever hires you, you want the best employer, not necessarily just anyone to employ you. I think there's a different mentality, right? You can have the mentality of like, I'm gonna put my resume out there so that I can get employed. I want to be the best looking employee for them, so they'll hire me. Then there's the opposite one where it's like, look, I know I'm good, but who's right for me? Who's going to be the best
Mm.
employer? That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to just get employed. I'm looking to get employed by someone who's going to treat me right, who's going to give me good payment, and you have a good job for me, right? Totally different, right? And so I think that first, I think it's important to recognize that you should be in those shoes, right? You might feel anxious and like, man, I really, 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 really need to get a job, and I
Mm-hmm.
respect that. But you are a person of value, and your work is valuable. So don't put yourself in a situation where you think that you're just like you're just like everybody else, and well, you are in a way. You're just trying to get hired at any place, but you should be looking for what best expresses your value and the people that treat you right. This is not their game of choosing, it's yours. If you put yourself in those shoes, it gives you the confidence to actually have a better interaction with people, and probably helps you point out the good sides of you that are going to get you that good job, um, rather than just a job that uh, really stinks and it's bottom pay and you're maybe not, click with it, whatever it is, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that. Um, try to, yeah. Anyways, that's I'm done. On to you,
Yep.
back to you, Joe.
Saule, you can do it, and I can get Ryan out of my face, just like that.
Oh, right.
You grew really big. You've been growing bigger
I
and
try.
smaller. It's been crazy. This whole thing. Oh my gosh, it's been crazy. Thank
Yeah,
you,
I'm
Saule,
sorry.
so much for your topic. It's totally your fault, man. You have a button over there, don't you? That's clicking, and you're clicking the
I
button.
wish. I wish that way I could at least be responsible and stop it, so
Yep.
it would be helpful to you,
It's about
so
to
I could
happen
stop
again.
messing with you. But
Watch. Yep. There it is.
unfortunately, I can
We're
do.
gonna fix it again. I'm getting to the
Wow.
point now where I'm like, okay, if there's a little glitch
You
in the
know it.
audio,
You
it's
know it's gonna
about to,
happen on the
it's
dime.
about to, so like I'm just, and there it is again. Oh my gosh, this is great. Holy cow, I'm so happy. You guys are awesome.
Thanks for dealing with us, guys. We love you all. We
And I am
appreciate
small
you.
again.
Thanks for sticking around
This is
despite
great.
the wildness.
Oh,
And yeah, great topics, everybody. Thank you so much.
yep. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for your support. Again, if you want to leave a topic, go to www.don'tworrywednesday.com and
That's
click
right.
the submit a topic button. And yeah, there's a link in the description. There's there's links. So yep, submit a topic. We'd be happy to do it. You can be entertained with all of our glitches while we talk about your topic, and it'll be great. So thank you, Ryan, for being here. Thank you, Princess, for being here and keeping this show on track. And thank you all in the chat for being here with us. We love you guys. And we'll see you next Wednesday right here on Don't Worry Wednesday. Until then, have a great week.
Bye-bye. Peace.